please welcome a conversation between Program Coordinator Smithsonian Movement of Life at the Smithsonian National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, Jared Staback, and the Director, Giraffe Conservation Foundation, Julian Fennessy.
Many people would not know it, but Niger is home to the last West African giraffe in the wild. There's none in any zoos around the world. They're right here.
Les girafes vivent avec la population. Le gouvernement du Niger a eu la présence d'esprit d'organiser la conservation, la protection. Et maintenant, elles se sont multipliées, ces girafes-là.
All the eggs are in one basket, so to speak. If we set up new populations, satellite populations, just in case there's something going wrong, we can then have these populations that are safe and secure.
The ropes are in the right place, we've got the trailer ready, the tow hitch works finally, and we're ready to go.
So each giraffe is being caught individually. We identify a giraffe which is suitable age, suitable sex. Dart it. It takes 2 or 3 minutes, the drug kicks in. Sometimes they'll go down quite quickly, sometimes they'll give us a bit of a run. At the right stage, we'll pull ahead of the giraffe and using the ropes, pull it down and quickly give the antidote. Now, there's quite a lot of things we do with the giraffe. Check their age, take some measurements, take some blood samples for disease work, etc., etc. We've got 8 animals here, 3 males and 5 females. They settle on remarkably well. I mean, particularly these giraffe, because they're so used to people. Everyone ready?
Donc le fait de réintroduire cette espèce dans la réserve, c'est vraiment une fierté nationale, disons, parce que c'est pour la première fois qu'il y a eu la translocation d'une espèce d'une zone à une autre.
We've just taken giraffe for approximately 48 hours to Gadabaji Game Reserve. It's the first release ever of West African giraffe in the wild. This is the start of something big for this population. Thanks, guys.
And now to talk Rays of Hope Africa are Julian Fennessy, the co-founder and co-director of the Giraffe Conservation Foundation, and Jared Staback, ecologist and program coordinator for the Smithsonian's Movement of Life. Thank you both for being here and for showing us that incredible film. It's really quite jaw-dropping to hear that giraffe have been extirpated from parts of Africa. And I think a lot of people watching are probably shocked at that revelation as well. But at the same time, it's also inspiring and hopeful to see the work GCF is doing to recover the species. Can you both talk about the threats to giraffe and Julian, how does this translocation process work as a solution?
Thanks, Kat. It's great to be here. It's great to share some of the success stories we've been doing across Africa, and Niger itself is truly one of them. You know, the numbers of giraffe were down to 49 individuals in the mid 1990s, and now booming. They're over 600, and you know, we've had lots of threats. You know, human population growth is massive. You know, linked with that, we've got development needs of local communities, but also governments. And so we've had to find new populations to set up. And in Niger, we found an area that giraffe used to be, you know, many, many years ago, and went about finding the best solution to move them and set up these satellite populations. And it's not the first time that we've done it, but we've been able to work closely with the government of Niger, first to develop national strategies, figure out what the solutions are, and one of those is the translocation. And linked to that is figuring out how to monitor these things, how to, you know, when these animals get there, how do we see where they're going and what they're doing. And, you know, that's where our partnership with SCBI and Jared in particular comes in handy. And maybe Jared can have a little talk about this little thing here.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, the little tracking device that Julian is showing, we call it the Asacone tag. So this is the newest generation of tracking devices that we're using to try to understand the spatial ecology. So where giraffe are moving, how much space do they need, where are the key connections. It's a device that, you know, we mount directly to the ossicone or horn-like protrusion of the giraffe. And it's a device that's solar powered, and it's providing in many cases anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 years worth of data. So really, from a scientific perspective, that really is the gold that we need to inform conservation on the ground, right? So we're now working directly with Julian and Giraffe Conservation Foundation and establishing Twiga Tracker. So it's a continent-wide strategy to understand movement across all 4 of the different giraffe species, from Niger all the way down to Namibia, South Africa.
And Julian, do you want to tell us a little bit more about these transcontinental efforts?
No, for sure. So we're quite lucky as the Giraffe Conservation Foundation to be the only organisation working across the continent on giraffe conservation and management. At the moment, we're supporting and undertaking work in 15 African countries, everything from counting how many giraffe are there, looking at the threats, human-wildlife conflict, which is really surprising because most people wouldn't think giraffe can be a problem, but they do like to eat food and steal that from people's mangoes and their crops. All the way through to translocations and GPS satellite tagging, as Jared said, Twiga Tracker. We've put on more than a couple of hundred GPS satellite units on giraffe over the last couple of years, and you know, by far the biggest program for giraffe out there. And we are pretty good at understanding what's happening with giraffe and how to manage them, how to capture them, what to do with them. But the science side is where we needed a really good partnership. And you know, that's where we contacted Jared and SCBI to say, how can you help us? And, you know, we're fortunate enough to have an amazing partnership. We've got a postdoc in Dr. Michael Brown working with us, but Jared's the clever one, and hopefully he can maybe explain a little bit more about the science and the value in it.
Yeah, well, I think that's quite kind of you, Julian. I think it really is a true partnership. You know, we are a US-based institution. We do have a number of individuals in our quantitative lab that are developing the techniques to better understand movement. But again, we're US based, and so we need partnerships as well. And so I think, you know, all the items that GCF and Julian are doing with local governments, with local stakeholders, you know, coming up with the conservation strategies for where we want, what we want to happen across these landscapes with agreement with the governments. You know, so Julian started off the conversation basically saying, you know, the government of Niger is behind these activities. And so I think that's hugely important, as well as the local community members that are across those landscapes that GCF and their team members are working with. So I think I think this really does highlight a true collaboration to really get to where we want to be, and that really is, we are not going to say, not going to agree to having any animals populations go extinct, and we really want to stop that from happening.
And Julian, working with governments and having different threats, are there any other challenges that you all face at GCF trying to do this work and get to these solutions?
No, there's no doubt. You know, there's a challenge every day, and obviously we're in midst of one of the most crazy times at the moment wherever we are in the world. And you know, a lot of our teams are obviously not able to be on the ground, but we're fortunate enough to have some veterinarians out in northern Uganda. We've got a team up in northwest Namibia. So we're able to get through some of these challenges, but it's really trying to figure out the whole society, culture, you know, how we work in each of these countries differs. And that's why over the years we've figured out what we think might be the best solution. And as Jared says, that's through partnerships. You know, it's not just GCF out there. We're working and we develop MOUs or agreements with many governments across Africa, lots of NGOs on the ground, but also internationally. It really is a team effort, and you know, conservation, we say, you know, can't be just done by GCF if it's to save giraffe before it's too late. And you know, sometimes it's really hard, and you know, we don't like to admit it, but it's about conservation successes, and we really think we are making a difference, and we wouldn't do it if we didn't think we were making a difference. And I just know the other day we had Jared out in the field, and it was awesome to see him come and help capture a few giraffe with us.
Yeah, I guess I would say I think it's the most amazing thing that I've ever been involved with. You know, I mean, it's a bit frightening when you see it on the video, but we have to remember that these are really, really tough animals. And so even though they are crashing to the ground so that we can put this device on them, they do get up really quickly. You know, it's a 2,000, 3,000 pound animal, and they are really tough. So I think it's really encouraging what's going on across the continent, you know, really being led by GCF and team members.
Well, that's all the time we have, but I'd like to thank you both for joining me and being a part of Earth Optimism. And for those watching that want to find out more, please follow Giraffe Conservation Foundation on Twitter at @save_giraffe and Movement of Life at Smithsonian MOL. Thank you both.